Christ. Shalom World, God's own channel.
Buona giornata a tutti.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back.
Ci raccogliamo per la preghiera, per favore.
Please stand.
Nel nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo.
Pagina 8, page 8.
Sei tu, Signore, a reggere il mondo con la potenza del tuo amore. Sei tu a guidare i giorni e le notti delle stagioni, a dirigere il corso. Dio, tu sai il mistero del tempo, di questa vita per tutti oscura, questo tremendo enigma del male, d'amore, morte, di festa e dolore. La luce vera che illumina l'uomo è solo il Figlio risorto e vivente, l'agnello assiso sul libro e sul trono, a lui onore e potenza nei secoli.
Pagina 17, page 17.
Our eyes on the Lord our God, till we are shown mercy. Our eyes on the Lord our God, till we are shown mercy. mercy. To you have I lifted up my eyes, you who dwell in the heavens. Behold, like the eyes of slaves on the hand of their lords. Like the eyes of a servant on the hand of her mistress, so our eyes are on the Lord our God, till he shows us mercy. Have mercy on us, Lord, have mercy. We are filled with contempt. Indeed, all too full is our soul, with the scorn of the arrogant, the disdain of the proud. The proud looked up with disdain, and scorned your Son on the cross. But Magdalene heard his voice in the garden, and ran with good news, I have seen the Lord. Our eyes on the Lord our God, till we are shown mercy. Il nostro aiuto nel nome del Signore, che ha fatto cielo e terra. Il nostro aiuto nel nome del Signore, che ha fatto cielo e terra.
Se il Signore non fosse stato con noi, lo dica Israele.
Se il Signore non fosse stato con noi, quando uomini ci assalirono, ci avrebbero inghiottiti vivi nel furore della loro ira.
Le acque ci avrebbero travolti, un torrente ci avrebbe sommersi, acque impetuose ci avrebbero travolti.
Sia benedetto il Signore, non ci ha lasciati in preda ai loro denti. Noi siamo stati liberati come un uccello dal laccio dei cacciatori.
Il laccio si è spezzato e noi siamo scampati. Il nostro aiuto è nel nome del Signore, che ha fatto cielo e terra.
Sia benedetto il Dio Padre, per Gesù Cristo nostro Signore. Ha liberato noi tutti dalla morte, con le acque consacrate dallo Spirito. Il nostro aiuto nel nome del Signore, che ha fatto cielo e terra.
Dal Vangelo secondo Luca. In quel tempo, mentre Gesù stava parlando, un fariseo lo invitò a pranzo. Egli andò e si mise a tavola. Il fariseo vide e si meravigliò che non avesse fatto le abluzioni prima del pranzo. Allora il Signore gli disse: «Voi farisei pulite l'esterno del bicchiere e del piatto, ma il vostro interno è pieno di avidità e di cattiveria. Stolti! Colui che ha fatto l'esterno non ha forse fatto anche l'interno? Date piuttosto in elemosina quello che c'è dentro, ed ecco, per voi tutto sarà puro».
So we have enthroned and we have proclaimed the gospel. And all the assembly, this holy assembly, lit up. From the gospel, I collected the wish of a good day for Pope Francis and for everyone that opens to the mystery of this assembly. There is a new session, a new module dedicated to the places of the Missionary Synodal Church. So these of the places is a knot, it's a difference that really put anguish inside the Christians. The Christians immediately identify themselves paradoxally as resident strangers. If we do think about the symbolic places that of the origins that have been asked at the beginning, so the Galilee and Samaria, Antiochia, Jaffa, Caesarea, Philippi, Ephesus, immediately we do have questions. If the place of the church is always a concrete space-time of gathering, the journey of the gospel in the world, however, goes from threshold to threshold. It shuns any staticity, but also any holy alliance with the dominant cultural contexts of the time. It inhabits them. It is led by its life principle, the Spirit of the Lord, to transcend them, to go past them. He is not here. From the dawn of resurrection, propelled by his word of the angel that brings people to go elsewhere, the proclamation of the gospel is always going out. That not here is like a stigma. And from the very beginning, it has surprised the women and guided the Apostolic Church to its exodic choices, so choices linked to the Exodus, to gather in the cenacle behind closed door and go out, to attend the temple and to leave it, to go to the house of Cornelius and to leave it, carrying in one third the surprise and the question. The word proclaimed by the gospel walks over the agora and the areopagus, but the proportions of the cross of Jesus immediately protect them from becoming entangled in settled idolatrous cultures, in cultures, in knowledges, in wisdoms flattened on self-salvation dynamics. Remember what is said to you in Galilee. He is not here. The memory of Jesus' words drives then, as now, the Church to take root in all places where the humans are, but makes it vigilant against any homologation. The dynamic element is the Easter of Jesus, it's his own resurrection. The dynamic element is Jesus' Passover, who also in every place of the human has imprinted a trace, the hollow, of his blessed body. It is a matter, as the Instrumentum Laboris repeatedly emphasizes, of overcoming a static vision of places, even the most sacred ones, so that we can open up to the reticular dimensions of places, relationships rather than cathedrals, through which the vitality of the Church is articulated. Thus, the questions arises. What is the thread? What are the connecting nodes of this network? It is a serious question. I belong to a monastic community, and we dwells at the margins of a big city, of a big metropolis, and these questions involves us deeply in meeting, in hosting those people that comes inside the big city and those who go out with a deluded heart. In the Gospels, proclaimed in the Eucharisty, we really try to find the connection of relationships, these reticular dimensions of places. Always, the burning contact of the gospel with faces and with events, with the human conditions, makes new places, makes us become new places, as Pope Francis told us, monasteries are an instance of convocations and meeting for all the Church. a small fragment of the mystery of the Church. Very well. On the basis of this everyday connection, I find that today's Gospel, linked to the prophecy of Isaiah that opens the Instrumentum Laboris, reveals a dialectical convergence which asks us to think about it. And I try to draw from this passage a few points to meditate. At the opening of the Instrumentum Laboris is the prophecy of Isaiah, which is a fantastic text, especially because it was born in a very improbable place and time. It's in a deep, mortifying station. It's an utopic text. God prepares gratuitously from a small remnant of deportees coming back to the dreamed homeland a place of universal convocation, an utopian gathering. So we put it really at the beginning of this section. So we have to be prophetized by this prophecy that Jesus fulfilled. This oracle has been proclaimed in a time of deep depression, let's say, to the remnant of the people of God. But on the other hand, today's Gospel positions us at another banquet, in a dramatic contrast. It is the invitation to the table of the Pharisee of Jesus. The Pharisee is a symbol of a culture with which Jesus accepts to place himself in a critical dialogue. Also this, for him, is a place. I find it illuminating to juxtapose the two convivial gatherings, because the difference sheds light and helps us discern the authenticity of the synodal places. God, who prepares a banquet from a known place, the small remnant of deportees, he opens up a future. God, who in Jesus accepts the hypocritical invitation at his own risks, redesigns this desert of legalism into a place of relationships. We have like a background observation. Jesus, he's the itinerant teacher. He who doesn't have a place to put his head to sleep, he loves banquets. It is a surprising trait of his style. Also, the Gospel of Luke, but the Gospel of John shows this. Jesus loves banquets from the very beginning, with the wine at Cana, with the calling of Levi, and right up to the last, in the cenacle, the place of the ultimal delivery, where he was betrayed. He intensely desired to eat with his own people. The stigma of conviviality, we could say on the base of the generous memory of Jesus, contaminates the places of the mission. It's an alternative sign to any other missionary criterion. Eating together. It's a place of gathering, it's a place of truth. And it looks like an accusation to Jesus. The Son of Man has come, he who eats and drinks. Let us ask ourselves, what is the human on the canteen, on the mensa, on the sharing table? It is the place where the constitutive itinerancy of the proclamation finds a necessary pause, and hunger make us brothers. It's the place where relationships take root. It's a very symbolic place for Jesus, where the hunger is laid bare and also shared, but from below, from the bottom. And also it's a place where hidden hypocrisies are brought to light. Eating together is it's part of the mystery of the Incarnation that is revealed in this section. When you go to proclaim the gospel, find a place to dwell. The need to eat, the need for meaning, the need to receive, it opens inside the humans and not vain place inside the humans with the other, be it friend or foe, saint or sinner. It's the place of the common ordinary. In the looking of the places of the mission, let us be careful not to look for extraordinary places, places of success. Please find places in the everyday places. There, gospel can be proclaimed in truth. The Synodal Church is challenged again and again to rediscover again these places. In which village you get into, please look for a house. It's a domestic principle of the church. It's the stability, it's the risky stability. Close at the table, dangerously close, both the Lord of the life and every other, in the elementary need to eat in order to live. In this place of radical meaning of the human, Jesus opens up the generative relationship of the place to say God. That God is the Abba, who gives food to all who lives, because His love is forever. Right up to the last banquet, Jesus seeks the place to say God, to say that God, with a burning passion, wanted to eat with us. This is not an episodic trait, but it's a dynamic line of Jesus' styles, and it has to inform mission. How? Today, in the Gospel, Jesus, invited by the Pharisee, sets himself at the table without preliminaries, and he goes straight to the heart of the hunger that summoned him. In this strange table, risky as well, Jesus puts into light the difference between the place of his own gospel with respect to banquets inspired by mercenary logic, by protagonisms in which one takes advantage of the other in his or her need. Places these like lunch, like job lunch, or like it's a job meeting. They are like lunches and dinners to promote himself. Luke himself, the evangelist of the meekness of Christ, described a biting, rough, inhospitable Jesus. Among the table of Isaiah and the table of the Pharisee, there is a link, a prophetic link. Just like the old prophets, Jesus shows his intent to break consciences, to shake consciences in front of the gazing of the procedures, of the canon laws, of the hierarchies. In front of all of this, he knows hunger. He knows man's hunger and God's hunger, who meet together for a radical contestation of every culture, of every religious system, who doesn't put at the very center the human. In his rude behavior, in his behavior, in the behavior of Jesus lies the passion of God and of the prophets. I will rend from you the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. It shows us how the places of the human must be visited and transcended by a missionary synodal church on the footstep of Jesus. Just as something seems to expose to failure the convivial desire that impels Jesus to accept invitations from all, in reality Jesus reverses the insidiousness of his host and induces a new conviviality based on the giving. Rather, giving alms what is within, and behold, all will be pure for you. Here is the new place. In the dialectic tension with the text of Isaiah, today we have been called in the places of the missionary conversion of the church, and we try to see the mystery of the plasticity of the places of mission. We need to start again from the everyday human, of the ordinary, and find the hospitable invitation of God in the heart of a new interiority. There is a big denounce of Jesus of the host. The dialogue with cultures and their own places needs to have risky discernments, little blooded discernments. And today we need to learn them again. We need to denounce any division between appearance and interiorities, between public and private, between individual and community, between procedure coming from an expired tradition and the truth of the coming of God. These schizophrenias are at the root of the pervasive foolishness that suffocates in the world today, to root the quest of proclaiming the God in the places of life. They are false conviviality. It's just a culture of appearance which doesn't fulfill the hungers. Actually, they make us more hungry. So there is a new question which is very urgent. When you meet together, what are you doing? What are you announcing? Which closeness of peoples, which broken veil is there? It's a question that from this assembly rebounds on the whole synodal journey, on the celebration, on the quest to meet in the truth the places of hunger. Give as gift what is within. Give in alms, in mercy, and interiority that is being generated again, and everything will find its original pureness. It's not for nothing that so many young people who disaffected desert liturgies bounce the question back to us. When you gather, what do you do? It seems to me, but I'm, just at the margin of this huge synodal assembly, that the God style eschatologically symbolized in the text of Isaiah and paradoxically in today's gospel strongly urges the synodal journey as it starts a new step. In the concrete historical context in which we live and suffer, overshadowed by so much blind violence and so much estranged suffering, the gospel gives us criteria for our gathering different from what the world gives us, different from the word of the laws and of the enterprise. The original place, so this place of convening is our common frailty. Today we commemorate Saint Teresa of Avila, which she renewed the church of her time through reforming interiority without big proclamations. The original place of convening is the regenerated interiority, which has the power to convene the many. Give in gift what is within, and all will be pure for you. The people of the sacred scripture have learned this art on their own skin, and we learn that from the text of Isaiah. To prepare the banquet where all the people are waited, the Holy One, God, goes out of the temple, goes into exile, dwelling as in the beginning in the small remnant, close to the hunger of his poor. And in this way he promises to collect all the ecumen, also for the future. Maybe today it is a matter of rediscovering the fruitfulness of the ordinary human places in which to share hunger and humbleness. There is a Bethany always that prepares and prefigures the upper room, the cenacle.
Please stand.
Preghiamo. O Dio, che crei e rinnovi l'universo, donaci di trarre dal nostro tesoro, che è il Vangelo del tuo Figlio, cose antiche e nuove, per essere sempre fedeli alla tua verità e camminare in novità di vita nel suo Spirito. Per Cristo nostro Signore. Benediciamo il Signore.
Chiediamo grazie.
Grazie, Madre.
Thank you, Mother Ignazia, for your meditation.
Chiedo la regia,
I please
per
ask
favore,
the direction to open the attendance check-in. So today,
il Cardinale Leonardo
the
Steiner,
Cardinal Leonardo Steiner from Brazil and Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, the Missionary of the Holy Father, in this very moment, they are celebrating the funeral of a brother of us, José Carlos de Souza. He was a homeless person from Brazil who, since a long time, was sleeping under the colonnato of St. Peter. After the funeral, they will come and join us. So, yes, please, the attendance check-in. The procedure of the attendance check-in is open.
I membri del Sinodo sono
The members
pregati
of the Synod are pleased to authenticate through the QR code to access
e alla documentazione a
the
disposizione.
agenda and the documents for everybody. Thank you.
La procedura dell'elemento delle presenze è ancora aperta.
The attendance check-in is still open.
La procedura dell'elemento delle
The attendance check-in
ai membri dell'Assemblea è
is
chiusa.
closed.
I membri presenti
The
in
present
aula
members
sono
are 343. 343.
Bene, allora prima
Very well.
di iniziare
Before we begin the new module,
facciamo gli auguri a Sua
let us make
Eccellenza
our best
Monsignor
wishes
Presente
to His Excellency Mr. Monsignor Oscar Hoeas, who is celebrating his own birthday. Also the Reverend Silesh Pulanconel. Happy birthday.
In mattinata verranno
During this
distribuite
morning, we will distribute to the tables the sheets with the informations about the theological pastoral forums of Wednesday afternoon.
la parola
I now give the word.
al delegato di turno, la signora
I will
Momoko.
give the word to the President Delegate Momoko Nishimura.
Just before we start, just to remind ourselves that our general congregation we perceive it as conversation in the Spirit as a whole assembly. So With a prayerful attitude, we listen to one another with respect and trying to discern what the will of the Holy Spirit is guiding us to be a missionary and merciful Synodal Church. So now we listen to the General Relator. He will explain to us our fourth module as places.
Grazie, Momoko.
Thank you very much, Momoko. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Let us resume our work. If we look at the calendar, we find that we have arrived at the 10th session of the minor circles, of the working groups. Tomorrow morning, we will also hold our 10th General Congregation. The two modes of our work goes on at the same pace, which we try to keep up without giving in to fatigue, which we all feel. The calendar also tells us that we have reached part 3 of Instrumentum Laboris. That is the last chapter of the book. Let us tackle it with the same decision and energy, the same strength as the previous ones, because it's no less important. Ultimo ma non ultimo, they would say in Italian. As the title of the section tells us, we take the perspective of places that against the temptations that are the tangible contexts for our embodied relationships, marked by their variety, plurality, and interconnection, and rooted in the foundation of the profession of faith, resisting human temptations to abstract universalism. To speak of places is to focus attention, to put back into the center the fact that the Church cannot be understood without being rooted in a place and in a culture. This does not mean giving in to particularism or relativism, but enhancing or highlighting the concreteness in which, in space and time, a shared experience of adherence to the manifestation of the triune God who saves us. The first paragraph of this section, entitled either Areas of Shared Journeying, Territories in which to work together, invites us to focus on how, in our time, people experience the dimension of rootedness to a context. Many factors, which I will not summarize here, mean that today this experience has much less of a spatial and geographical connotation than in the past. We still have a need to belong, but this need is answered in webs of relationships with more dynamic and elastic territorial anchorage or linkage than in the past, up to the borderline case of the digital environment, which is so important. What does this mean for the fulfillment of our mission of proclaiming the gospel? How should we think again our institutions in the logic of a missionary service, or service to the mission, which takes place in a different context than in the past? Which institutional and organizational shapes and forms need to be changed, and how? From the very beginning, in the Church, speaking about local contexts means taking into consideration the relationships established between places and cultures. Places and cultures are not different planets, but they are always linked one to the other. Even more are the churches who inhabit them. Really, because of the bond of communion that binds them in the unity to the whole Church, of which the Bishop of Rome is the visible principle. These churches, which are all represented here, in different levels and in different ways, entertain among themselves and with the Church as a whole a rich range of relationships, which take the form of an exchange of gifts. There are the Ecclesia sui Iuris, the Oriental churches, alongside with the Latin Church. In turn, each of these churches has dioceses or eparchies, which maintains among themselves and with the Church as a whole a variety of relationships, including institutional ones, starting from those which gives life to this grouping of churches. Lastly, communion also presides over the internal life of each local church in the different ways and forms in which the participation of the Christi Fideles takes place, particularly in the bodies and the instruments provided for this purpose. This is what the second and third paragraphs of the third part of the Instrumentum Rabolis deal with, entitled respectively the local churches in the one and unique Catholic Church and the bonds that shape the unity of the Church. Finally, the last paragraph focuses on the service to the unity of the Bishop of Rome. I believe I am interpreting the mens of the Holy Father, the meaning of the Holy Father, reiterating the invitation to approach the work and exchange on this paragraph in a spirit of parousia, so of frankness. The Holy Father has summoned us here to listen our advice, to make his service and the one that the Roman Curia gives more effective. He is entitled, he has the right to know what we really think, starting from the life and the needs of the people of God in the places from where we come from. At the first glance, many of the topics that we are addressing in this module may look technical on the surface for insiders, and they look far removed from the daily life of the vast majority of the people of God. I am sure that the theological pastoral forums we will experience tomorrow afternoon will help us dispel this impression, and they will highlight the relevance of these topics for the mission of the Church in today's world. Above all, I think that this module, like, and perhaps even more than the previous one, encounters and questions the lived experience of those of us who are here. It looks to me that this is the most correct perspective in which to place ourselves to face the work ahead of us. In order to realize this, I invite each of us to do a small exercise. So please, each of us take a minute in silence to look around. First of all, cast your eyes over the people sitting at your own table. And then I would like to invite everyone to widen your gaze, embracing the whole room. I admit, for me, from this raised table, it's easier. In this place, which is very concrete, the Aula Paolo VI, the Paul VI Hall, we have now spent almost 2 months of our lives, a little bit less. In this place, we let the relationships among ourselves grow in a network, in a web that is not limited by these walls, but really embraces the whole church, the whole world. In this place, we had a rich and intense experience. As in every synodal meeting, but in an even more special way, we made the experience that the meeting between brothers and sisters in the faith is not free of hardships and difficulties, but it leads to the encounter with the Lord and brings forth the joy of the gospel. If we kept this treasure only for ourselves, we would turn it into a privilege. This module then offers us the opportunity to ask ourselves what are the ways, the forms, even the organizational ones, the institutional ones, so that the richness of the experience we have lived here, in this place, becomes accessible and available to the whole people of God. Not only through our story or like our tellings, but through the renewal of our churches. It will not be possible to bring all the baptized in the Aula Paolo VI, in the Paul VI Hall, even in the Jubilee, in the Holy Year. It will not be possible. But this is not the point. There is not a need to come here. It's not necessary to come here to enter into the dynamisms of the Synodal Church. The purpose of our work over the next few days is to propose tools to make it easier. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Grazie Cardinale Oleric per questa introduzione.
Thank you very much for this introduction. Thank you for the passion that you put inside that. Dear brothers and sisters, the working groups will now begin, as usual, their activity by choosing the rapporteur for the 4th module. I would like to
Ten years of sharing the peace of Christ. Shalom World, God's own channel.
With many bishops of the world, I want to congratulate Shalom World Media on the 10th anniversary of their world mission, their world evangelical.